Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are opening up a file that, quite frankly, is the master key to personal evolution. We're talking about true personal accountability. It's a concept that sounds simple, but when you fully embrace it, it doesn't just improve your life. It changes who you are, fundamentally. It transforms your relationships, your goals, your entire mindset.
Really does.
Now, if you ask most people what accountability is, they default to the negative. They think of like the boardroom, the punishment, or that dreaded moment when you have to admit you messed up.
Yeah, the principal's office.
Exactly. They think accountability is just confession. And yeah, that's the starting point, but it's not the mission.
That's exactly the common trap. We're sort of trained to see accountability as this external thing, something forced on us after a failure. But the material we've gathered shows the profound truth.
Which
True accountability is taking full, unconditional responsibility for your life. And that scope is enormous. It means owning your choices, your habits, your results, your happiness, and, critically, how you respond to everything.
Okay, let's unpack this because our mission today is to show you that when you fully master this ownership, your life stops feeling like something that happens to you.
And it starts happening for you.
Yes. You're shifting from being a passive passenger to, the highly intentional driver.
So to start, we have to be crystal clear on the scope. We're talking about ownership of your actions, your reactions, your behavior, your habits, your progress.
Everything.
Basically everything. It's about establishing an internal locus of control. Yeah. You're acknowledging that you are the primary engine of your own experience. And here's where it really hits you. If you've ever felt stuck or like you're waiting for some external permission or luck to arrive, this just changes everything.
Right. Where you are in life, good, bad, or indifferent, is not some random cosmic throw of the dice. It is a direct accumulation of the daily choices you make, consciously or unconsciously.
And just to add some nuance here, let's clarify what we don't mean. This isn't about perfection. It is certainly not about self-flagellation or beating yourself up or wading in guilt and shame.
Because those things are unproductive.
Totally unproductive. They actually hinder accountability because they make us want to hide our mistakes. The core attitude is fundamentally proactive. It's about being aware and intentional.
So what does that sound like? The person who gets this says, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I recognize and I own my contribution to this reality.
Right.
And because I own it, I can change it. That ownership, that little shift, it gives you immediate power. That's the separator.
That's it. It separates those who evolve from those who just stay stuck in the same place year after year.
But let's be real. If it offers so much power, why is it so hard? Why do we as humans automatically look for someone or something else to blame first?
Well, the resistance is primal. It comes from the ego. When something goes wrong, the fastest way to protect our self-image is just deflection. We've actually identified 5 critical hurdles from the sources that really explain why people avoid this. The first is a fundamental fear of failure.
Right, the fear of looking weak.
Exactly. People worry that admitting they had a part in a bad outcome will make them look incompetent.
Yeah.
But what they don't get is that taking ownership quickly, it actually signals confidence. It says, I'm secure enough to acknowledge this and move on.
And that's tied right into the second hurdle, which is ego and pride. It's hard to say the words, I was wrong.
So hard. That little voice inside screams, don't let them win or protect the image. But all real growth begins right where that ego runs out of road.
And the third one seems to be the most common.
Oh, for sure. It's that blame is easier. Blaming the traffic, the market, your colleague. It gives you this immediate but very fleeting sense of relief. It's a short-term comfort.
That little hit of validation, like, it's not my fault.
Yes. But that relief comes at the cost of long-term control. It just stops the learning process cold.
Okay, wait, let me challenge that for a second. What about genuinely external things? Like, if I'm late because a citywide power outage shut down the transit system, isn't that a valid thing to blame?
That's a crucial distinction. The external event is the cause of the problem, but accountability is about owning your response to it. The non-accountable person fumes, complains, and is just immobilized by it.
And the accountable person. The accountable person asks, knowing the system can be volatile, what could I have done? Could I have checked the news, planned a backup route? It's about focusing on your future action, not the unchangeable past event.
Got it. So what are the last two? The last two are a lack of self-awareness, where people are so stuck in blame patterns they don't even see another way, and negative past experiences. If every time you made a mistake as a kid you were shamed, you learned that hiding and deflecting is just safer. So the takeaway is clear. Accountability isn't punishment. It is a massive transfer of power to yourself. You stop being a side character and become the author. And the payoff for pushing through that initial discomfort is immediate. Let's talk gains. The most obvious is just more control. When you stop wasting energy blaming things you can't change, the economy, your boss, you realize how much leverage you have over your next choice.
And the impact on relationships is where it really shines, I think. Oh, it's huge. This is where ownership builds stronger relationships. Think about a common conflict. You forget to tell your partner something important. The non-accountable response is defensive.
Right? Yeah, like, well, I was going to tell you, but you were busy, or it's not that big a deal. Right. It builds walls instantly. But the accountable response just cuts through all that noise. It sounds like, you're right. My mistake. I should have told you. I apologize.
And it doesn't just resolve the conflict, it builds trust. You're not fighting over who's right anymore. You're moving to the solution.
Exactly. And internally, accountability is the fuel for better habits and discipline. When you own the fact that you missed the gym because you hit snooze, not because your bed was too comfy, it's painful enough to drive you to do better tomorrow.
So accountability leads to consistency.
And consistency leads to progress, and that progress builds real self-respect.
That self-respect is the hidden benefit, isn't it? It comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself. Every time you follow through, you're basically telling yourself, I am reliable. I can trust myself.
And all of this just leads to faster growth. Accountable people are relentless learners because every misstep isn't a failure, it's just data. They ask, what did this teach me? Instead of, whose fault is this?
For me, the most valuable part is the mental and emotional freedom. Excuses are heavy. They're just heavy baggage. When you drop them, you stop pretending and you start living truthfully as someone who is in charge of their own responses.
Okay, to make this really tangible, let's use that contrast example. Person A, the non-accountable one, is stuck in traffic on the way to a big meeting.
Their internal monologue is pure frustration. Why is this happening to me? This is going to ruin my whole day. The client's going to be annoyed, and it's not my fault. All their energy is spent externally, and they arrive agitated, ready to make excuses.
Exactly. Now, person B, the accountable one, is in the same traffic jam. Their monologue is different. Okay, I failed to leave a buffer. That's on me. I should have checked for closures. I'll text the client, own the delay, apologize, and commit to being ready the second I walk in. The difference in outcome is huge.
It's exponential. Person A arrives helpless. Person B arrives in command, having already owned the situation. So if we fast forward 5 years, who has the promotion? Who has the better relationships? It's obvious. The accountable person wins the long game, not because they're perfect, but because they're adaptable and proactive. They're always correcting course.
So how do we make this a habit? Because it's not a switch you flip, it's a muscle. We pulled some really actionable steps from the sources to help you start today. Let's dive into a few of the hardest ones, starting with the cornerstone. Self-honesty. Self-honesty is the absolute foundation, and it demands a quiet reflection most people avoid. When something goes wrong, a project, an argument, you have to force yourself to ask the simple question, what part did I play in this?
Not the whole part, just any part.
Exactly. If you contributed even 1%, that's your entry point. That's your leverage. Okay, let's talk about another one. Removing excuses. This is subtle, right? An excuse can sound like a really legitimate reason. It can. The trick here is to catch yourself when you use the phrase, I can't.
Like, I can't wake up earlier, or I can't afford that.
Right.
Yes. As soon as you hear yourself say that, you have to immediately replace it with the question, how can I? That single shift changes your brain's focus from barriers to bridges. I like that. What about tracking? You mentioned tracking your habits.
That's another critical one. It moves accountability from the abstract to the concrete. You can't fix what you can't see. Using a journal, an app, whatever. Physically tracking your commitments forces you to confront reality.
There's no ambiguity.
None. You either kept the promise to yourself or you didn't. The data doesn't lie. If you say you read for 30 minutes a day, but your tracker has 6 blank spots, well, the conversation with yourself becomes very real, very fast.
And finally, the environment. Surrounding yourself with accountable people.
This matters so much more than people think. If your whole circle spends their time complaining and blaming, they're reinforcing that as your default. Accountable people, though, they lift the standard.
They talk about solutions.
They talk about solutions, about inputs, about learning. You need to seek out those conversations. Their example becomes a powerful, non-judgmental accountability partner.
Now, shifting gears a bit. Let's bring this into the realm of integrity. Specifically, private integrity accountability when nobody is watching.
This is the acid test of character. True accountability is what you do when there is zero external pressure. The alarm goes off at 6 a.m., nobody is there to check on you.
Okay.
Do you get up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you keep those small, seemingly insignificant promises to yourself?
I think we dismiss those small, private failures, snoozing the alarm, eating the junk food as minor. But they chip away at our belief in our own reliability. They absolutely do. And this feeds into the core principle. Integrity is proven in private long before it's ever noticed in public. If you're always cutting corners when no one's watching, how can you expect to perform with quality when the lights are on? That sense of self-respect is built brick by brick with those private commitments. So as we bring this all together, the main takeaway is that personal accountability isn't a burden. It's not a punishment. It is a tool for liberation.
Mm-hmm. It's about owning your journey, your choices, your capacity for growth.
When you accept ownership, you instantly take your power back. You do. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop blaming circumstances, and you become the most powerful force in your own life, the solution maker. Accountability turns your life from a spectator sport into something you actively design and create. You are the narrator of your story, and true accountability is the pen you use to write it.
Well said.
Stay responsible, stay honest, stay committed, and most importantly, keep showing up for yourself. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.